Christine, remember when you were a kid and you thought that your career was going to be this like perfect straight line trajectory?
Oh my, yes. That is not at all what happened. It ended up being way more of a squiggle than I could have ever imagined. And I am so happy that I embraced all of the squiggles along the way.
Everyone to Embrace the Squiggle, the podcast for anyone whose career or life looks nothing like a straight line. And honestly, this is where all the good stuff happens. We are Colleen,
And Christine.
and this is episode 97 with Hannah. Hannah, I realized I didn't make sure I say your name right. Hannah LeBeau?
That's it.
Excellent, excellent. Great. Welcome, Hannah. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we always talk about how we know our guests. And I, in my scrolling TikTok moments of trying to find all the people who've changed careers and are talking about it on TikTok, I stumbled across you and loved your content and thought, oh, she will be a great guest. So excited to have you.
Yay. Thank you. That's awesome.
All right. So we start with always, what did you want to be when you were a little kid? Like, what did little Hannah think she was going to be when she grew up?
Little Hannah, like if I'm talking like little Hannah, she
Yeah.
always wanted to be like a superstar. I loved like the spotlight as a kid. I'm a Leo in like its true form. So like I loved the spotlight and like sparkles and dresses and shoes and putting on shows for people. I used to dance like in the reflection of the stove in my kitchen. Like I just loved like being in the spotlight. Once I I feel like that's always still like within me somehow. But then when I was 12 years old, I really idolized my school guidance counselor, Mrs. Graves. And I just saw her handle things with so much grace and poise, but she was also really cool and laid back. And I was like, I think I want to be her one day. And then it never really changed. So I think that's kind of where I always felt. But I remember telling my grandpa one day, I said, I know I'm going to make it. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I'm meant for a lot and I'm going to make it. And, he chuckles at me and stuff, but yeah.
Excellent. Oh my goodness. I love the
that.
confidence, right? I love the confidence of little kids, and I wish we could all bottle that and keep it when we get to be adults, right?
Me
Or
too.
I think also, right, middle school beats it out of a lot of us. But right. So you get through elementary, you get through high school, you go off to college.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you think you were going to do then?
So I actually went to college for dance. I went as a dance major. I'll be fully honest, if my mom's listening to this, I love you. But I had a crazy dance mom growing up, and a lot of my decisions came from wanting to make her happy. We've already talked about this. She knows this. We have a great relationship. I went to school for dance as a dance major, mostly because I think that's what she wanted. But I always wanted to do psychology. And then, a year into the dance program, I was like, still want to do psychology, to go for counseling. And that's what I did. So I switched my sophomore year to psych, and that's what I decided to pursue.
Nice. But I mean, fun fact, you still kept dancing as well.
I did. Yeah. So I was able to dance professionally in the NFL as an NFL cheerleader for 4 seasons, 2 years while I was a full-time student and 2 years after I graduated. And so I always wanted dance to be a part of my life, but I didn't want it to be my whole life. I was never someone that wanted to drop everything and move to LA. I was never someone that wanted to live in New York because I knew that there was an instability factor about that. And that scared me. I commend anybody who fully immerses themselves in those environments because they are tough. Because if you're not getting hired, you're not making money. And that's not something that I wanted to risk. So the NFL route, it really gave me the opportunity to pursue professional dance, but also be able to go to school and get an education so that when I was done with dancing, I still had something else to do afterwards.
When did you know that stability was a value?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think maybe just reflecting on it. I mean, I grew up in a single parent home. So I think probably the subconscious of watching my mom, kind of struggle a little bit. I think that was probably instilled in me to a degree, because I saw her in, like some of her worst moments, like not being able to go to certain places, but wanting to give me and my brother everything. So, but I think I, I don't know. As a conscious thought, I really think that probably happened in like college when I was really seeing like the grind of all of the dancers and seeing where like the alumni ended up and what they were doing. And then, like hearing the stories of like, yeah, I tried to go here, but I ended up coming back home and being a dance teacher. I was like, I don't think I want that for myself. Some people do, and that's great, but that just wasn't, it was something that scared me always. And yeah, I think instability and question was always, I mean, I'm a people pleaser in its true form. So I think even just like feeling unsettled in making decisions. Am I doing this for someone else? Am I doing this for me? So I think just like questioning myself as a whole has always been like a struggle. So maybe that's where instability kind of roots in that. Not really sure. That's a good question. Got to reflect on
Oh,
that more later.
I will leave that with you.
Yeah.
I just heard it as being a really like just the way that you presented yourself. You were very sure,
Mm,
and I just picked up the sense that you were very rooted in that. So it was
mm.
just a curious mind.
No, it was a great question that I clearly need to think more about.
There you go. You're very welcome. So you graduated with your psych degree,
Yes.
and then tell us, where did you squiggle to next?
So, I graduated with my psych degree, and I was still, at that point, I was going into my third season as an NFL cheerleader. So, at that point, I was just kind of doing different like part time jobs to get me through because having a full time job and as an NFL cheerleader, that's can be really really difficult. So I was just kind of doing part-time things until I found something that like landed. So I think I was doing at the time, I was still working at like the ice cream place that I got hired in high school.
Oh, I
So I
love
was
it.
doing that like over the summer. But then during like the season, I was making like part-time wages for NFL cheerleading. So as a young girl that lived with her mom still, that was okay. But then I was also doing marketing for a nutrition brand. Um, it was called Quest Nutrition. They're still pretty big now, like Quest bars and
Oh, yeah.
stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So I was doing
Yeah.
like marketing events for them. I was really into fitness and stuff at the time. So I don't know how I got affiliated with them, but I just kind of that's where I was. So then once I retired from NFL cheerleading, because on my team you could only do 4 years or four
Mm.
seasons, didn't have to be consecutive. Some did it, incrementally, or some people would get cut and then come back. I was lucky that I made it all 4 years consecutively. So when I was done, I got my first, I called it like big girl job at the time
Yeah.
at an eating disorder rehabilitation center, like an inpatient program. And I was there for like 3.5 months. And, I was having a major identity crisis with retiring from NFL cheer. And my best friend was moving to Nashville. And he was like, you should just come. Like, why not? And I was like, okay. So I just picked up all of my stuff and I went to Nashville with no plan, no job, nothing in sight. So yeah, that was the biggest transition that post grad that I did. I just picked up my life and it's like no plan.
So tell us more about the identity crisis that you were moving through, because I think that this is an unspoken, well, I think I shouldn't say that. I know that this is something that people don't talk about, and
Mhm.
they don't realize the attachment to like the emotion of grief, and moving through the stages, especially, you know, as an athlete or as a dancer, when you've danced for like 20 years or whatever it is, that there really is like this transition period of, well, that's who I was and
Mhm.
who am I today. So I would love for you to share just a little bit more about that journey of packing the suitcases, because that's not something we do in Canada, but that's a whole other conversation. In the US, you people pack your suitcases and move across the country like nobody's business. But I would just love for you to share more about, yeah, packing the suitcase and kind of finding yourself in this next chapter.
Yeah, it was really tough for me. So dance has always been my identity. I grew up a competitive dancer, so it wasn't just for fun, it was my life. Like I I think my dance studio was about an hour from me. And I would do my homework in the car, I would eat in the car, I would change in the car. And
Which
then also
probably
like
meant you passed, like, 50 dance studios on the way there, right? Like, it was such a
yes.
part of you that you had to go to the best dance studio,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. So I was doing that like every day starting at 9 years old, 10 years old. So, I mean, that grind in itself was instilled in me very early. But, also to kind of go back a little bit earlier, I was a good kid. I didn't break rules. Like I didn't like to go off script, the predictability and stability thing.
Eldest
Here
right,
it comes
the
again.
Yeah.
eldest daughter.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
too.
seriously. Yes, Taylor Swift.
Hi, that's
Um,
Right.
me.
yeah, I'm the baby of the family, but the only daughter. So I think there's still some
Mm,
Yeah, that's
similarities
you're
there.
still the eldest daughter, right, in that
Exactly,
sense. Yeah.
exactly.
yes.
Um, so but school was never my biggest accomplishment. I went undiagnosed ADHD until I was 27. And I had a math disability, which I didn't know about. So all of my major accomplishments were rooted in dance. So that's where my validation came from of like my
Mm.
worthiness of accomplishing things and like being someone, because I always felt behind in school and I never knew why, because I was like, I'm paying attention, but the information is just not being retained. So then, take me after NFL cheer. I did it from ages 19 to 23, which are prime years of young adult, like cognitive development, where you're
Okay.
trying to
Yeah.
figure out what you like, what you don't, who you are outside of your small town norms and all of those things. But in my reality, it was have your hair color this way, be a certain weight, talk this way, be media trained. Don't go to the grocery store with an NFL cheerleader branded shirt without makeup on. Like you in your personal and professional life, you have to be a certain being and representation of the organization. So then take you out of that at 23 years old. It's like, all right, well, I just had a script laid out for me for 4 years. All of my accomplishments are rooted in this for my entire life. And now what? You didn't give me a retirement plan. Like, what do I do now? And it's not like I had a bunch of money saved up afterwards. Like I was making a minimum wage. So um, there was a really, really big identity shift of like, what is my worth? What is my value? Do people even like me without the uniform on? Will I get a boyfriend if he knows that I'm just a regular girl? It there was a lot kind of tied into that. And it took a while to, like you said, kind of find myself again, and be okay with being myself without the uniform. So,
Yeah. So how did you move through that?
um, I think, even though when I went to Nashville, I went there without a plan, and I wish that I went with a little bit more of a plan. However, I think going there was probably the best thing for me because it allowed me to just be. I didn't know a soul. I knew two people, the person I was driving down with, or moving with, my best friend from home, and then one of the girls I was a Pro Bowl cheerleader with my year from the Titans. She was on the Titans. So other than that, I didn't know anybody. So I had no agenda. I had no reputation. I could just be me. And any friends that I met, any guy that I met, whatever it was, they were accepting me for who I was in that moment, how I looked, what hair color I was, what weight I was, all of that. So
Yeah.
it was still a struggle for me accepting myself, but like the external validation that I craved so much, it was really nice to be like, I'm not getting this from anything else other than exactly what I am right now. And that's a bartender in Nashville. and that was it. So it kind of allowed me to kind of like reframe like my identity a little bit. And then just allowing myself to make mistakes too, and being okay with making mistakes, because as an NFL cheerleader, as a self-proclaimed perfectionist, I don't make mistakes. You can't make
Yeah.
mistakes in a lot of,
Right.
Yeah.
in a lot of environments like that. So I think just allowing myself to just be a human for a little bit was
And it
helpful.
gave
Yeah.
you that chance to think about what's next, to really start
Exactly.
to think about. My guess is you didn't think you wanted to be a bartender forever, but it gives
Right.
you that point to pause and reflect and think, okay, right? You have the
Yeah.
confidence to now do what's next.
Exactly. And, and I look at everything that I kind of came across, like whether it was bartending or whatever it was, like that is now something that I have in my back pocket. And let's say I get laid off one day, or I lose my job, or I move, bartending and being a waitress or a server will never go away. So now it's a skill. Now it's
Yeah.
a skill that I have, and it wasn't my forever, but now it's something that I can fall back on if plan A, B, or C doesn't work?
You know what I really love in this moment is that you've got two things that are coexisting. The prestige of NFL cheerleader, and yet this other sort of, skill where you, like you say, you can fall back on it. And I
Mhm.
think, and a lot of people I know in coaching, when people have come to me and are now in the chapter of desperation, I need a job. And it's like, okay, let's go plan A, plan B, plan C, right? So plan A, usually a dream job. Plan B, not my dream job, don't mind doing it. I could strategically set myself up as a step towards my dream job. Plan C, survival job. I need
Mhm.
to pay the bills, put food on my table, put a roof over my head, etc., etc.
Mhm.
And how many people resist plan C? And and
Or
when I
don't have
hear it,
one, right?
Right.
or
Because
don't have one.
I feel like, Hannah, I'm the same
Yeah.
as you, right? I waitressed my way through high school and college. And
Yeah.
at one point, I was a single parent and I had to get out of my job. It was a really toxic place. And at one point, I
Mm,
said, okay, if nothing moves in the next month, I'm quitting and I'm going to go waitress
there you
because
go.
I know I can survive on it. And no,
Yeah.
it's not my dream job. It's not what I want to do forever. But
Mhm.
I know I don't have I know I'm not gonna be stuck here, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know I'm not gonna be stuck. I have that chance to move on. So what was your next step there? Like, where did you move to
Yeah,
from Nashville?
so after Nashville, like, I had realized the lifestyle that I was living was not sustainable. I mean, I was working doubles, like, I was working at one place, from, like, 4 like, a gym from, like, 4 AM to 12, taking a nap, then going and bartending from 4 PM to 3 AM, like, and I was doing that every
So
day,
hard.
so, like, that was not sustainable for me. So I decided
For
to move back.
anyone. Let's be
For
clear, not just for
for
you, but for
for
any human
literally
being, right?
anyone. Right, no one do that. Don't take that advice at all. Um, so then after about 2 years, I moved back home to, Massachusetts. I'm from, like, the Worcester area. So I moved back home, and at this point, I was like, "All right, like, I have a degree. I'm not completely stuck here. Like, I have some experience, at the eating disorder, inpatient, program." So I was like, "All right, I have some experience in, like, marketing. I've worked with people. I don't know." So just, like, tossing a resume together, and I applied to anything and everything, so much to the point where if someone called me for an interview, I would ask them the address so I could look up and see how far it was, but it was actually to look up and see who the heck was calling me, because I applied to so many places. So then I secured a job, with Job Corps, which is a federally funded program for high risk youth, and I got a job as a career counselor. And so I initially started off with a caseload of just girls and women, ages 16 to 25. And I had like a caseload of like 35 girls. And then after 3 months of being there, I loved it. they were having a contract change, and they said, we're wiping out the we're wiping out the career counselor position from 5 of you to only 2. And somehow, some way, I secured it. And my salary increased from like 39,000 to 63,000 overnight.
Amazing.
That's like
And
life-changing money at that point,
life
right? So
changing.
life-changing.
Life changing, because I look at money as something that keeps me with a roof over my head and food. Like, I've never been someone that felt the need to like shoot for the stars with money. Because I mean, I grew up with a single mom. So I was like, she was an ABA in a middle school. So I was like, if she was raising me and my brother and she, we were okay. Like, I know she struggled, but I was like, anything that I am making, I like, I'll be fine. If she could do it, I'll be fine. So that money was life changing. And I did that for another like 4 years almost. And then, kind of like how you mentioned, started feeling like it was a toxic work environment, that it was ended up being tireless work, to the point where they were like, if someone else can't handle it, oh, the guidance counselors can do it. And they're just
Mm.
tossing stuff onto me. And not to mention, my caseload increased from 35 kids to, at one point, I had almost 100, sometimes
Whoa.
maybe
Oh,
over 100,
yeah.
on top of all of this really micromanagey type administration work. And then again, just tossing more onto us, as if we weren't probably the busiest people in that place. um, so then I quit my job and went to retail for $19 an hour. I went from 63,000 to $19 an hour, living in my own apartment. Ended up getting a roommate that kind of screwed me over. I was going to say the F word, but she truly
It's
screwed
okay. You
me over.
can.
She fucked me over big time. She was awful. And I won't even get into that, but that ended up blowing up in my face. And but in the time when I was working in retail, I was able to look for jobs and take time to just be like, you know what, this job is super easy. I can bring my laptop with me when it's slow, and I am just going to look and look and look and look. And maybe after like a year-ish of being there, I found a job in the guidance department at Foxborough High School, which was
Okay, so wait a sec. So do you know Kristen Fischera, who's the field hockey coach?
Fischera. That sounds really familiar.
Oh,
Um,
she was one of our guests too. But actually, as I'm thinking, she may
oh,
be in Mansfield if she's not in Foxborough.
She must be. I must
Yeah.
know who that is. I must know her face, because Fischera sounds very familiar. I will say that my position, I was a career counselor. I was very isolated.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't a part of any like meetings, like nothing. Like, if I didn't get up and go to the bathroom sometimes, like, I wouldn't have interacted with anyone. I wouldn't have had to stand up. So I do know
Yeah.
that name.
Name
And if
rings a
I
bell.
saw her face, I'm pretty sure I would know who that is.
Okay. So I would love to know from you, what did you learn about yourself as you transitioned from leaving toxicity to, I love that you went back to a plan C type of thing, and then swiggling into landing the guidance counselor. What was the biggest self-learning?
I think that was the first time in my life where I truly trusted myself. Um,
Oh,
I started to really
yeah.
trust myself, and because I didn't move out of that apartment. I didn't move back home. I was like, "You know what? Like, whether I have a roommate or not, I will figure it out." And then I was also bartending at that time too, so I was doing both. That was the first time that I think I trusted myself to just take a risk and stop putting myself through um, really, really terrible experiences and terrible people, at some points,
Yeah.
surrounding me, and saying like, you know what, like, I have been here for too long for it to be getting worse.
Yes.
And it's like, so you know what, like, I know that I deserve better. And like I said, I think that's the first time that I was confident in myself and trusted myself to do something that I know I deserved.
It takes so much courage to stop and pause and to just take inventory around what is going on here and what is in my control to change.
Mm-hmm.
That's a life game changer. I know I've been moving through that recently, and I've been decluttering again, and it's so liberating, and it's yeah, like when you can just have the courage to self trust and say this isn't working.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbecoming all of the things that you are to becoming what becoming who you are in the next chapter. So I love that courage and confidence and self trust. I heard intuition in there too.
I was saying,
Yeah.
and there's another next chapter. Like that's not even the
Yep.
end, right?
What?
Yeah.
You're not at the high school? Oh
No,
my goodness.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. No, ma'am.
Nope.
Tell us everything. Okay, I love it. What's next?
So
What's
next
next?
chapter. So when I got the job at the high school, this was my dream job. I wanted to be a guidance counselor my entire life. This is what I wanted. I was in a public school system. That's what I wanted. I was working with young adults. It was like everything that I had
You had
ever,
arrived.
yeah, like anything that I had ever manifested for myself
Love
is
it.
exactly what I got.
Okay.
And so I was there for about 2 years, and at this point I was like, "You know what? It's perfect for me to start a master's program because I got this job with a bachelor's. So now if I go to school for school counseling, then I can transition into a guidance counselor role in the district or maybe here, who knows? This is the perfect opportunity to jump on this because I'd always kind of put school on the back burner, limiting belief, I think, of like, I was never good in school, but master's is hard, you know? So I did take a leap and I started going to school. But then within a year ish, I realized that school counseling was not for me. Um, I did not like the school environment. I felt like it was way too rigid and kind of like old school to the point where I was like, I have no individuality here. And then also the position that I was in, there was someone that was in the job before me for like 20 years or something. And so I was filling really big shoes. But what they didn't realize, and that I was able to realize by taking her position, was she was doing a lot of stuff that no one really managed because they were like, "Oh, she got it. We don't have to monitor her." But then I took the job over and I was like, "What was she doing?"
Right.
I The tasks that I actually had to do all year took me about a few hours to get done. And this
Busy work.
Yes. And this person was a part of, like, the yearbook and did this, and she
Yeah.
and
Every
so
committee.
Yeah.
yes. And
Filling
you know what?
time.
Like, I commend her. She rode that out for a long time, and she did her job well, and she was well respected, and people loved her. But then when I was there, I was like, what do I do when I'm not planning a field trip? It felt so unintentional, and I just felt like I was sitting there, just literally sitting there. And I'm a hard worker. I love to stay busy. I have really, really strong work ethic. So to know that like my bosses were probably like, what does this girl do all day? And it's like, no one told me. You're not giving me anything to do all day. I have nothing to do. And so the hook and sinker for me to pursue clinical work, because I was always back and forth between
Mm-hmm.
school counseling or therapy. And the hook and sinker for me was that they were going to start changing my role a little bit and start putting me in classrooms with high risk youth.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I left that job. That is not what my contract said I was doing here. Not that I didn't love working with high risk youth, but I left there for a reason. it started getting toxic, it started getting unmanageable, and this I didn't feel supported in this environment already. So I was like, this is my sign to pursue what my intuition was kind of always telling me to, but I went school because it's safer. You have a strict schedule, you have summers off, you do this from this time to this time. Clinical work is unpredictable. You don't know how many
Mhm.
clients you're going to get. You don't know what kind of client you're going to get. So that unpredictability was like, no, school is safer.
Right.
So I was able to change my program in time to where it wouldn't be a total waste. I was able to transfer most of my classes. And now this is the final chapter. I am in my master's program right now to be a licensed mental health counselor, or a licensed mental health therapist. I know clinical mental health counselor. There's a bunch of other words for it.
Yeah.
And I'm in my internship right now, to be a therapist. So that is where I'm at, and that is what I am fully sure I want to do.
And I
I
love that.
love
And
that.
you're also right doing some great mentoring for
Yes.
students, right? And who are in dance and
Yes.
athletes.
Yes. So I'm also a dance teacher. So I'm a competitive dance teacher, but what I just started is a mentorship called Project Sideline. And that
Mm.
is specifically for dancers that want to go into NFL, NBA, or like college team
Ah,
environments,
love that.
to strictly focus on the mental health aspect, identity, transition, kind of the unwritten rules of the industry, and kind of working through those barriers, because there's a lot to learn about it that I wish I had known as a kid. So
I was just going to offer that up. I bet that you have this, just the knowledge transfer, the reality check, I
yeah,
mean, so many environments and professions, people like to keep certain things on the down low.
yes,
And
yep,
we need those honest conversations so that we
mhm,
can make the right decision.
yeah,
Is NFL the right fit for
yeah,
me, so to speak, in terms of the next chapter of my dance career. I love that. And I really love how you've done full circle moment, uh, you know
yeah,
and you're
And
build
combining the two things that you love.
exactly
yeah,
that's took
So
the words out of my
often,
mouth.
if you look at some of that the design thinking work around careers, they're constantly saying, right, put all the things you love out there. And is
Yeah.
there a way to combine them? Is there, what does that Venn diagram look like? And,
yeah.
you're the model of that Venn diagram.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, I have kind of learned along the way that, obviously everyone knows that mental health is not really normalized in the arts industry. It really is just
mhm.
like kind of sacrifice yourself to get the dream, right? Like I always tell people, if my coach at the time told me to cut off my left arm, I would have been like, do it right
Yeah,
now.
here you go.
If I get to stay on the team, like chop it off, girl. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think I'm now really finding the balance of mentoring men and women to be on these teams. And if they're wanting to make their mental health a priority, that's kind of the barrier that I'm running into right now. Because I know that if you told me you either go to therapy or you take off the uniform, or no, or you put the uniform on, you have to pick one. I would have said, screw therapy. I'm putting the
I'll put
uniform.
the uniform on.
Yeah, and because mental health isn't super normalized in these environments, it can be really hard to get someone to dig deeper and say, like, this is what's happening. This is what could happen when they just want that sparkly uniform. I've been there. I get it. So that's kind of the barrier I'm hitting right now, but I do feel like it's so important to get a hold of and maintain it before you go in, or even while you're in there, to get a grasp on everything so you don't lose yourself in the identity of it. Um, and it's, I look at when I was on the team, like we had a personal trainer, we had nutritionists, we had all of these sponsors, eyelashes and hair and tanning. Where was the mental health
Yeah.
sponsor?
Yeah.
Nowhere.
You,
Nowhere.
well, No, and I'm involved in something where mental health. Our main sponsor is actually a men's mental health organization, and people are super loving the vibe that we're putting out in the community, because when you get to that elite level, sport, dance, art, whatever it might be, you're right. Mental health goes out the door, and
Mhm.
I truly believe, and I know I'm not alone, and clearly you're on the same page. Is that you can be at that elite level and have the support and find that, and hopefully with the right things in place,
Mhm.
not lose the mental health piece,
Yep.
because that's where these people crash and burn and
Mhm.
then spend so many months and years climbing out of the hole. So I super love that combination, and I love that that's a message that you're putting out there, that you can be elite,
Yeah.
and yet you can be at that level in a healthy way. So
Yes. Yeah,
beautiful.
exactly.
I had no idea that this was going to be our conversation, but I fully support that piece.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really like that is the goal. I really like that you said, you can be elite, but also do it in a healthy way. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to sell yourself. You
No.
don't have to sacrifice yourself. Like, and I think you can be the most elite when you're in tune with yourself and your body and your
Oh, even
mind.
more so.
And because like I might have looked great on the surface, but I was really struggling with a lot
Yeah.
of things. And so I think being able to find that balance is really important, so that when you're not NFL cheerleading anymore, because like for all the NFL cheerleaders out there, you can't do it forever. I wanted to, but you can't. And when you leave, you need to be grounded in yourself, because it's
Yeah.
really hard to lose the grounding.
Well, and I just put this question out. We don't have to dissect it. I'm watching the time here. What just came up for me is, I wonder how many people are holding themselves back from their potential, their eliteness, because mental health
Mhm.
is so important to them, and they don't have the tools or resources to in parallel reach their full potential.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just leave that there.
Yeah. Yep.
Because anything's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you bringing us home, Colleen, or am I?
Sure. This has been such a great conversation, Hannah. I'm so glad that, you accepted my invitation on TikTok, which I always think is you know,
Ah,
the
I love it.
messages that come through on TikTok are interesting, as I'm sure you find probably even more than I do,
Yeah.
of some of the strange ones that come in, but there are also some really powerful ones.
Colleen, I'll just shout you out because it's your birthday today.
It is?
It
Oh, yeah.
is.
Of
Oh my
course I have to
gosh, happy
mention that. I
birthday.
know.
Thank
So
you.
fun. When it drops, it won't be Colleen's birthday, but when we're recording, it's Colleen's birthday. I just will shout you out though. Colleen, you've recruited, I want to say, 3 people from TikTok. Maybe there's a few I'm forgetting.
Yeah, there's a few coming
And
up.
there's we've had some of the most awesome conversations with our TikTok recruits. So
Yes.
thank you, TikTok.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you to be
Wow.
able to find people via hashtags, um,
Seriously.
right? Or the weird algorithms. Um,
Yeah, weird
but
algorithms.
right, this has been so great. So we always end our podcast with a lightning round with some fun, quick questions to see.
Okay.
All right, our first one. What are you binging or streaming on TV right now?
I just finished binging Friday Night Lights, which is very on brand.
Yes, very on brand, very good series.
Yep.
Haven't
Um,
seen that one.
Before that, I finished binging Animal Kingdom. Highly recommend.
That is on my list. I haven't made it to that one yet.
Yes.
All right. What is the color that brings you the most joy?
Pink. And I told myself for a long time, it's black. But I realized that I'm a pink girl through and through, have been since I was a kid, and that's my inner child. So pink.
I love it.
Excellent. You're right. Embrace your pink. So, all
Exactly.
right. What is your go to pump up song? I feel like as a dancer, you have to have some good pump up songs.
Oof. I would say like anything Celine Dion.
Mm,
Like I'm Alive, Celine Dion.
yeah, that's a good one.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
It's a great
Blasting it
one.
in the car quite literally like 24 hours ago.
I love it.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, that is a powerful song.
All right. And our last one here is, do you have a book recommendation for our listeners?
I do. And I was really thinking hard on this one. So I would recommend A Time for Dancing by Davida Wills Herwin. I have the name up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I read this book a long time ago, and it was something that always stuck out in my brain. Really beautiful story of friendship, hardship, all of those things. So A Time for Dancing, definitely read.
Put that on
Fantastic.
my list.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like every week we add another book to our list, so it keeps my
I
to be
know.
read pile going.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah, for being our guest today. Where can our listeners find you if they want to connect or follow you?
Yeah. So my personal TikTok and Instagram pages are just at Hannah LeBeau _. And then my business pages for Project Sideline are also just at Project Sideline _. I will preface my business pages. I haven't been posting on them too much. Transitions and maybe limiting beliefs in there.
Yeah.
So I'll get those up and running more soon, but that's where you can find me for now.
Excellent. We will link those in the show notes as well.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
our episode today has been brought to you by Maxity, where we are reshaping how individuals and businesses thrive using strengths to achieve their highest goals through training and executive coaching. And if today's conversation sparked something for you, an idea, a question, maybe a nudge to go try something new, we'd love to hear about it. Drop us a message on Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok, all at Embrace the Squiggle. So we are here to show up for the messy, non-linear parts of our career and figuring it all out together. Thanks again, Hannah. This has been great.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
Hannah. Great conversation.
So fun. Thank you guys.
Is it time for you to add a little squiggle to your career? Join us every week to hear from another guest talk about how they embrace the squiggle.
Subscribe now and find your inspiration.